Welcome to the Archetype of Man channel. I'm Nick. A while ago I did a video comparing the Ruger GP100 7-shot 4.2 inch 357 Magnum to the new production Colt Python 4.25 inch 6-shot 357 Magnum. There were people in the comments that said needs to be a Smith & Wesson. Well, I still don't have a 4-inch Smith & Wesson 357 of my own. However, a friend of mine loaned me his Smith & Wesson 686 Performance Center with a 4-inch barrel. Close enough, right? So today we're going to be talking about these three revolvers. There will be links down in the description to all three of them for you to check out. Now, I do want to give a disclaimer here. I have the most time with the GP100. My GP100 is a very special to me gun. There's been a lot of them made. There's many like it. This one is mine. For starters, this is a 7-shot 357 Magnum instead of a 6. I've talked about that a little bit. I wouldn't necessarily go that route again if I were going to do it, just because of speed loaders. And then you look in the cylinder, those holes are a little bit closer together than they would be with a 6-shot gun, so varying rim thickness can be an issue with some ammunition. So reloading my own now, I don't notice it nearly as much, but when I would buy bulk ammo, it was kind of crappy to have one brand or whatnot that you buy a couple thousand rounds of and they don't all work. But anyway, I have the most time with this gun. I'm creeping up on 4,000 rounds through it. It does have a drag ring there on the cylinder. It's kind of like brass deflectors on ARs. If somebody's telling you they have a ton of time and rounds through theirs, and then you look at the brass deflector and it's virgin, they lying. You might want to be a little careful how much credence you give to what they're telling you. Not saying that you should 100% listen to me, but I have shot this thing a lot. This has been a great gun. It is stock. Yeah, I haven't changed anything. It's got some wear, a little bit of delamination on the wood here on the grip panel, some scuffs on the rubber part. I carry it when I'm deer hunting as a sidearm from time to time. It's been all over the place. And for a long time, this was my only 357 Magnum. By the time I was a young man and I understood what a 357 Magnum was, I learned what a Colt Python was, and I started wanting one. Of course, Pythons, especially old production Pythons, very expensive, out of reach, still out of reach for me. And if I did have the money to get it, I really wouldn't feel good about traipsing through public land, deer hunting or fishing or hiking, and coming out here and shooting a lot of rounds through it. Enter the new production Colt Python. This one was manufactured in 2020. It has seen some things. Still in good shape, still works, but you'll notice here on this tang is scuffed up. There's some scuffs and scrapes on the wood grips. You know, I carry it on my side. Deer hunting, it's rubbed against the tree stand, it's rubbed against underbrush. It's been used, it's been through some stuff, but that's okay. I bought the gun to use and it's done great. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you might have noticed the sequence of events when I got this thing. I was having failure to fire and light primer strikes from the get-go, from the factory. At the time, there weren't any aftermarket mainsprings out yet because it was new. So Brandon Moss of Moss Firearms in Jasper, Georgia, it's the gunsmith I use and trust. He went in there, tweaked the spring a little bit, made the trigger a little bit heavier, and the gun has had reliable ignition since. I don't know how widespread that problem was, but it bears mentioning. So this is the gun I have the second most time and rounds through. Why am I telling you all of that? Well, namely to say I don't have the same time or rounds through this Performance Center that I do the other two. This gun is not mine. It's been loaned to me. I have about 500 rounds through it at this point and has been running well. I've had no issues with it. Actually, as a matter of fact, I find myself kind of being spoiled. I knew I wanted a 686 of some sort just to round out the 4-inch 357 collection, and now I'm leaning hard towards one of these. Now, I know some folks say the Performance Centers aren't what they used to be, and that very well may be. I'm neither sure nor do I consider myself qualified to really offer an opinion on the finer intricacies of performance center and custom shop and things like that. If the gun goes bang and it has a reasonably smooth, not necessarily light trigger, and I can hit what I'm aiming at, I'm pretty happy normally. I want it to be durable and reliable. Those are my two biggest things. So that's really all I have to say about the performance center. I just know somebody's going to say, oh, you know, it's overpriced, or you're paying for something that doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. I'm not the guy to have that debate with. I mainly just want to look at the features, some things that are the same, some things that are different, and give you as much information as I can from my standpoint, on which of these might be right for you. So for those of you that may not know, this is a 357 Magnum cartridge. This particular one is a Barnes something or other, all copper bullet, but that's a 357 Magnum. They've been around for a long time and have a pretty good reputation in terms of what they're capable of. They're a versatile round. What a lot of folks also will know is a gun chambered in 357 Magnum can safely chamber and shoot 38 Special. Doesn't go the other way around. Long story short, 38 Special existed first. Some guy said, hey, we can push that really, really hard. And they started loading these well beyond normal pressures. Eventually led to guns being made for the more powerful round, which they call the 357 Magnum. Interestingly enough, the 357 Magnum didn't have to be any longer than the 38, but they wanted to make sure that people weren't chambering the new hot whiz-bang 357 in their older 38 Specials and potentially hurting themselves and blowing up guns. So you'll note, if I can do this right, the 357 is about 1/8 of an inch longer than the 38 Special. So if you buy a 357, you can shoot 38s in it. For a lot of people, I just recommend getting a 357 because it's going to be a heavier gun. So even if all you shoot in it is 38s, you typically end up with a more controllable shooting experience. That being said, if you're really sensitive to weight and it's going to be a carry gun, then maybe the 38 makes sense. But for today's purposes, these are all three 357 Magnums. They will all three shoot the 357 and the 38 Special. Now, before we go any further, I do want to give a shout out to channel sponsor Epic Water Filters. They do some amazing stuff. This is a filter down at the bottom. This is the Anywhere filter. Any freshwater source I can drink with confidence. Filters last 3 to 4 months. They're about $30 for a replacement filter. This Nalgene setup is perfect for on the go. They also have countertop and fridge dispensers for everything from purifying already treated water sources that may have things in there you don't want, things like plastics or other chemicals, or if you're on the go like me, and especially during landscaping season, I can drink out of any creek or whatnot with confidence. This is cool too. Even if you do buy bottled water, putting it in here gets rid of some of the weird taste that you might experience. Looking at you, Deer Park water. Anyway, they've been awesome for the channel. There's gonna be links down below. They are affiliate links. If you order, it helps me. Just full disclosure, I'm gonna keep recommending them either way because it's a really cool product and I seriously use it daily. So we're just gonna briefly talk about some of the functionality of 357 Magnum and why you might be looking for one. So we have a few different cartridges here that I'm lining up. I'll get my hand out of the shadow so you can see a little bit there. We've got, there's a lot of things 357 does and does well. So we'll start on the right. This is a, let's say it's a Remington. Yes, this is a Remington high terminal performance HTP 180 grain semi-jacketed hollow point. 180 grain, so heavy for caliber on the heavier end. This, something like this might make an excellent self-defense round. The same with this Barnes. I think this is a 120 grain if I remember right. Excellent self-defense round. This unassuming little thing here is actually the most powerful 357 I have shot to date. This is a Buffalo Bore Outdoorsman 180 grain hard cast lead. It is impossible for me to overstate how concussive and powerful this round is. The first time I shot some of them to make sure that I could actually hit what I was aiming at with them, I was blown away. There's a lot of power here. This would also make a good self-defense round, although not so much for two-legged critters, but for four-legged. So around here, North Georgia, biggest thing I'm going to encounter in the woods is a black bear. I'm not really as concerned with those as I am wild boar, so this is what I keep on me with my hunting sidearm. Would it work to take a deer with? Probably. That's not why I carry it. I'm not yet to the point where I'm comfortable taking a handgun shot on deer at the ranges that I typically see deer. But this should get the penetration necessary to reach some of the vital components on wildlife if my life were in danger. And the unassuming 38 Special. 38 Special has done for a lot of bad people and stopped them from doing bad things over the years. 38 Special is also the reason we don't have to suffer through John Lennon anymore. Sorry if you're a Beatles fan or a John Lennon fan. If you can separate art from the artist, props to you. But anyway, 38's done a lot of things over the years as well and shouldn't be discounted. It is just a significant step down in performance from what 357 is capable of. Notice I didn't say all 357 because sometimes, like a lot of other calibers, they are not loaded to their full potential from the factory. But there's a lot of wiggle room, and if you're interested in reloading, 357 Magnum is definitely one of the calibers I would look at. You can save a good bit of money there, although if you don't like reloading, the money savings probably won't be worth it. But it's a very versatile round. It's kind of like a reloader's wet dream. You can do all sorts of stuff, and so too with 38. So most 357 Magnums will have a steady diet of 38 rather than 357 mag because the ammo cost. So looking at these here, I do want to note just an interesting little aside on why this and the Python are a little bit longer than 4 inches, is so the Canadian market could still consider them sporting firearms. Although since all of that, Canada has decided you can't buy handguns for normal folks, so not cool. But anyways, that's why this is a 4.2, 4.25, and I'm not sure exactly on the 686. I'm sure it's a little over 4 inches for the same reason. All three of these are double action revolvers, which means, make sure it's clear, the trigger can perform 2 tasks. So you can absolutely cock the hammer before you fire. But the beauty of the double action revolver and why it was such an improvement over the Colt's single actions and things like that is you don't have to. You can just pull the trigger. And the trigger performs the double action of rotating the cylinder and actuating the hammer or cocking the hammer and releasing it all at the same time. So 7-shot cylinder here. All three of these guns work the same way. They're double action. They have varying quality of trigger, I'll say. So the worst trigger I have is actually the GP100, and it has smoothed out a lot. And I'm not saying it's a bad trigger, it's just the worst of the three. Certainly like the gun and everything, it's just it's not a performance center trigger or a Colt Python trigger. Perfectly serviceable. So the other thing that these things have different though is going to be their mechanism for releasing the cylinder. On the Ruger, you're going to push this in and then come over here and push the cylinder out, or however you want to do that. Force has to be applied here, force has to be applied to the side of the cylinder, and it swings out. On the Python, this has to be pulled back. So if you're in your shooting grip, this has to come back, force has to be applied over on this side of the cylinder, and it swings out. And there you go. Smith & Wesson's about to get goofy. And it's not entirely what you would normally see. So normally you have a little paddle here. I didn't bring another Smith & Wesson with me. So normally you wouldn't have this extension here. But on this particular one, it's kind of nice because you don't have to break your firing grip. Push on that and it opens up. So normally you're going to break your grip anyway, empties, and then reload with your strong hand. But still a neat feature, but typically that's not there. And you would have a little ramped thing here to push forward. So that's different there. The other thing is the Ruger and the Smith & Wesson, when they fire, the cylinder rotates counterclockwise, or some of my people here in Georgia say counterclockerwise. But yeah, that goes opposite the way a clock goes, so it's going this way. On the Python, it goes clockwise. Does that matter? You tell me. If that matters to you, leave it down in the comments. I've not heard anybody really have a preference one way or the other. Before we get into what everybody is likely waiting for, which is the price points for these different guns, I do want to say I'm sorry I'm not shooting them and I'm just talking. If you're more interested in seeing the shooting videos, there will be links out in the description. There's just no real meaningful way for me, one guy, to quantify these guns. They've all shot damn near the same amount of accuracy in my experience, and that's what we've got. So as of today, December 23rd, 2024, MSRP on this gun, the 4.2 inch 7-shot 357 Magnum, is $1,129. I was blown away when I saw that. In terms of what they're actually going for, the best I could do was look at Gunbroker. On Gunbroker, I'm seeing them for about $1,000. That is not anywhere near what I paid for mine over 6 years ago. I think I paid like $730 or something brand new off of Gunbroker. So prices have gone up. So we'll go with MSRP, which I know is not great, but Gunbroker changes so much anyway. So we have $1,129 for the Ruger. For this gun, the 4.2 inch new production Colt Python, we have an MSRP of $1,499. which is actually about what I paid for it when I got it. I was so excited I didn't wait for prices to come down, and they have come down. Again, that is MSRP. What they are actually going for on Gunbroker. So MSRP is $14.99 on the new Colt Pythons. On Gunbroker, I'm seeing them for about $1,300, $1,400. So not a huge break from MSRP. Expensive guns. No two ways about it. This was a hard sell to convince my wife that I needed this, although it was a Grail gun and is still one of my favorite guns in the collection and a very nice shooter. So GP100, $1,129, Colt Python, $14.99. The Smith & Wesson 686 Performance Center. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the SKU, because if you've spent any time on Smith & Wesson's website, you know how confusing it can get. That one's going to be 11759. MSRP is $11.89 on this one, which is not that bad to me. There's a significant number of upgrades here that kind of shocked me when I saw that price. I thought it might be higher. So for starters, this is the only luxury or performance model out of these three. Again, I know we're not doing a true apples to apples comparison because this is not a normal 686, but that's what I've spent time with. So we have $11.89 here. If you wanted a bare bones 686, it looks like a bare bones, just Smith & Wesson 686 6-shot is going to be $9.79 MSRP. Either way, not too bad. So in terms of weight, the lightest of the three is actually going to be the Smith & Wesson 686 Performance Center with a weight of 37.8 ounces. The Colt Python is the heaviest at 42 ounces, and the 7-shot GP100 comes in at 40 ounces. So they're all kind of close. I was surprised at how much lighter that 686 is. In closing, I think any of the three of these are going to be just fine in terms of reliability, and the companies that make them are sturdy enough. I've not had to send the Colt back, although I did have to have it tweaked a little bit when I first got it. The Smith & Wesson's been bulletproof as far as I know. Its owner has not reported any problems to me. I haven't had any issues, and the Ruger just keeps on doing Ruger stuff. I have had a problem with a Ruger. That was my SP101 and 327 Fed Mag. There'll be a link up here somewhere if you want to check that gun out. It did have to go back to Ruger right from the get-go. So each company, something important to keep in mind, when a company produces a lot of things, eventually some of those things are not going to come out 100%. It's just going to happen. Sometimes you're the lucky one that doesn't have to send something back. Sometimes you're the one that has to. If you buy enough guns, at some point you're going to have an issue, and that's where the company's reputation and warranty comes in. I think all three of these companies, Colt, Smith & Wesson, and Ruger, have the track record and are large enough companies that I don't think they're going anywhere, and they have the potential to be able to address those concerns in a timely fashion. Now, if you've had horror stories or reasons people should stay away from one or the other, please drop them down in the comments. We're trying to help people make the most informed decision they can. My experience with Ruger was fine. Of course I was bummed. You know, I finally found a gun that's kind of hard to find, and it was new and just had to go back. That being said, I think I've owned probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 Rugers. I currently own, I think, 15. So this is the first time I had an issue, and they resolved it fairly quickly, and I got my gun back, and it's been fine. So that is part of what you're buying, and that's part of why we make the decisions we do as consumers, not just for the product itself, but the company's ability and potential to remedy any defect or issue we have with that product. I think all three of these are in a spot where they should be set up well to do that. I've not had to deal with Colt. I've not had to deal with Smith & Wesson, so I can't say for sure, but they're certainly large enough and established companies. They should be able to handle any issues that arise. In terms of just the concept of owning a gun in this class, this full-size 357 Magnum, I think, is a workhorse gun. None of the three of these would be particularly easy to conceal carry, but for things like being out in the woods, hunting, fishing. As I said before, in my area here in North Georgia, 357 Magnum offers enough power and muzzle energy and loading configurations for me to deal with anything I'm likely to encounter. If you're up further north where things like moose, brown bears, grizzly bears, where that's more of a concern, well, I probably wouldn't feel as cozy with 357 Magnum as I do down here. But they're just a useful gun. It's a common round, although some people may argue it's nowhere near as common as it used to be. Most gun stores that are worth their salt, as long as the availability is there, are going to have 38 or 357, or probably both on the shelf in terms of ammo. It's a wonderfully versatile round, and I can't say enough good things about it. The beauty of a gun like this is that it's built solidly enough to shoot the buffalo bore outdoorsman loads, but if I want to get my 10-year-old out here shooting revolver, I can put some light recoiling 38 specials in it. Or as I get older, you know, I've had arm injuries and stuff like that, and if I get more sensitive to recoil, I can always still shoot 38 special out of it without hurting myself. Mostly shoot 38 through it now, but I could carry it with some manner of 38 if I had to. I think they're useful guns. They're tons of fun to shoot. There's nothing quite like shooting a double action revolver, and having 357 or 38 special to shoot out of it is just awesome. So that's my thoughts on it. I could wax poetic about my love affair with 357 Magnum and 38 special all day. Let me know in the comments which one of these you would pick, or which one of these you have picked, reasons for and against and all that good stuff, and keep it clean. And I hope to see some cool debating and stuff going on, story sharing, because I think these are awesome. I know this is kind of a Ford Chevy type thing when you get into Ruger and Smith & Wesson. I'm not sure how much Colt loyalty there is. I haven't experienced the same amount of passion that I've seen with the other two. I'm kind of an equal opportunity guy when it comes to this. I want one of everything. I would have had a Taurus out here. I just don't have a Taurus in this size frame yet. So I'm not trying to exclude them from the conversation. I just don't have one to make a video with. If that changes in the future, we might have to revisit this. So that's what I got for today. Before I close out, I want to give a huge thank you to my channel members and Patreon supporters. You guys rock. Channel members get early access to long form content here on the channel before it goes public, as well as some behind the scenes chatting and things like that. Patreon gets written stuff over on Patreon, and there's a chat room and things like that. Those are options if you'd like to financially support the channel. If not, and you found this information useful, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing. That helps the channel more than I could tell you. As of today, a couple days before Christmas, we're getting close to 25,000 subs. That'll be a big deal to me when that happens. A huge thank you to everybody that has helped make that possible. So if you're interested in financially supporting the channel, there are links down in the description, as well as some merch links if that's something you want to do. Of course, you need to hydrate anyway, so if you're in the market for Epic water filters, there'll be a link down there for them. That helps the channel too, and it helps you. So do good things, take care of yourself, drink water. Most Americans don't get enough water. Don't be in that demographic. Guys, please stay safe. I hope everybody has and had a happy holiday season and Merry Christmas.